Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy, Matt, Alonso. Opening next week is Midsommar, the latest from Hereditary director Ari Aster. Yes. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, and they have, so they're going to tell you all about it.
Holy mackerel. All right, so this movie is the story of a young woman named Dani who suffers a personal tragedy very early on in the film. We meet her boyfriend and their friends. They're all anthropology students, and her boyfriend is about to break up with her, and then the relationship kind of totters on as she's going through this grieving process. And then they all go to Sweden to at the behest of one of the group of friends who is a fellow student.
Who is Swedish.
Go back to the little town that he's from, the little community that he's from, because one of their friends is doing his thesis on Midsommar celebration. So they go to this Midsommar celebration and whackness ensues. And this movie studies grief and embraces kind of the emotion around that, probably heavier than Hereditary did. This movie is messed up. It's twisted, and I loved it, and it's shocking. And this one, I was coming out of it yesterday. I just saw it last night with Gray, and said, "This is one of my favorite movies of the year that I'm really hesitant to recommend to anyone." Because it's not an easy watch.
Neither was Hereditary.
And listen, if you thought that one scene with the head in Hereditary was rough, this one's Ari Aster going like, "Oh, okay, you guys like that one? Here, I'm gonna have to do that. Let's go." It's unflinching in some of its stuff that it does, and he's got a way of, one of the ways is the way this movie's shot. He'll frame stuff up the way Wes Anderson does. In
symmetry and
symmetry and very
focus.
Square on and very right and there's no, it's very, very in your face, very focused, and the way Anderson uses that in a way, like sometimes there's a separation in the way Anderson uses that makes his movies a little twee and kind of it almost adds a little bit of a distance. This one, while managing similar framing, it's like watching a traffic accident. It's like it's in a way that like you can't look away. It's really difficult to find sometimes anything else to look at on the screen, which I think adds to what this movie does. And I found it, the performance is amazing. It's shockingly funny in places. But yeah, this movie's bonkers.
It's like an exquisitely crafted version of The Wicker Man.
I was about to ask if I've seen The Wicker Man. Have I seen this movie?
No.
Okay.
This is its own cool, twisted, effed up thing, and the camera work. If you saw Hereditary, this is not a surprise. I mean, that was his first film, and a lot of that really show-offy camera work is on display here. There is an overhead shot, and this is in the trailer, where if you're watching Dani going into the bathroom in this apartment, and then the camera comes over the top of the transom of the door and around the front of her, and all of a sudden now she's in an airport bathroom or airplane bathroom, and it's like it's so smooth and tricky and seamless, and he does things like that over and over and over again. A lot of trucking from one side to the other across this giant field to show you what's happening.
The ones I liked were the meal shots where he'd have the camera either on a drone or a crane way up, and everybody at the meal would be waiting for someone to do something.
These long tables,
and then you would see like this domino effect as they all go across, which again adds to just the weirdness of that community.
So it looks like a very idyllic and kind of charming and pleasant place, and everyone's very welcoming, and they're all wearing this kind of like old-fashioned, flowy kind of like summery meadow frocks, and the men are the men are in tunics, and the women are like these flowers, and they're all wearing flower crowns. It looks like a really charming and idyllic kind of place where you'd want to just go and escape.
Right.
But it's not. It's a total nightmare.
Unfortunately, you can't escape.
You cannot escape. And there's eating and drinking. And then sometimes the things that you eat and drink make everything around you seem different. But you don't know whether, like, is that the properties of whatever it is, or is that truly happening? I mean, there's so many times that this movie messes with your mind, and it seems like so shocking and so weird and such hell. But the longer it goes on, it all kind of makes sense. Like the rituals they're performing and the reasons that they're doing it. And maybe it's like a Stockholm syndrome thing that's happening here.
Well, it is Sweden.
It is Sweden, but it almost you get so immersed in the insularity of it, and this world is detailed so thoroughly that you feel like you are there, and you begin to think like, well, of course, why wouldn't they do things this way? I don't blame them. It makes absolute sense.
Right, and I think this one is weirdly grounded in a way that Hereditary isn't. This one also, I think it has a deeper thing to say about grief and kind of and sharing of emotions, because one of the things that comes up, you see this, there's a little bit of this in the trailer, but you start to see this about halfway through the film, that when somebody either in the community and then later on one of our kind of newcomer characters starts to feel a strong emotion, sometimes you'll see the people around that person mimic that same thing. And, there's I don't know how popular it is, but there's a school of thought that like one of the ways you deal with babies crying is you cry with them, right? And or at least like it keeps them, sometimes like you deal with a tantrum by having that same behavior. And then it kind of will sometimes stop a kid in their tracks. And this one somewhat similarly, but it's like grief and strong emotion is a joint exercise
in empathy,
in empathy, but in a really like
twisted
way that from a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of the sensibility that we have, especially here in the States, growing up in kind of like a Protestant sensibility, which like, oh no, we're just going to live our quiet desperation by ourselves. Like this community's like, oh no, you're upset. We're all upset.
Right.
Ah!
There's like a swelling
Right.
that begins and it builds to a
Right.
crescendo, like a chorus, and yet there is like a catharsis in that.
And it's interesting to watch how that affects some people and it doesn't affect others, right? Like, and yeah, I found this movie, it's fascinating, but yet similarly like really shocking, even with the stuff that is coming. Aster still manages to ratchet up what you see on screen. Like, it's not enough that somebody, it's not enough that somebody dies. It's, we're gonna make it like real gory, right?
Well,
like,
also, we've been warned about some of the stuff that's going to happen. This reminded me a lot of a couple different Lars von Trier movies in that way, in that Breaking the Waves and also Dogville, in the way that it will like, it's broken into not really chapters necessarily with like title cards and words, but there are images that we see that will foreshadow what is going to play out. And it reminded me of a couple of Lars von Trier films in that way. Also just the way he will put an actress through the ringer.
Funny Games.
Yes, Florence Pugh goes through the ringer in this.
She's great.
She is so good in this.
Yeah,
and
it took me a minute to realize that she's in Fighting with My Family.
And
Yes,
Lady
and
Macbeth.
Lady Macbeth.
She's really great. And you completely feel everything that she's feeling. You understand her instincts from the get-go, whether it's her grief or her neediness or her fear or eventually her level of acceptance for what's going on around her. People have compared this, understandably, to Hereditary and said it's different. I don't think it is all that different, in that it is an exploration of loss and grief, and you have to go through this gauntlet of hellish emotions to get to the other side. Both movies are about women dealing with a really serious, painful loss and how they go through it. And the film is like almost a visual manifestation of the emotions that they are experiencing through that. And there's like there's no judgment for anything that she does here. And again, you almost begin to understand and why she would want to maybe be there, why she would want to accept the level of acceptance that she's experiencing there, as fucked up as it is.
Oh yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, this movie there are times where it's like, oh, now you're just trying to make a scream, right? There's a couple places where I think it does go maybe too far, right? Like there's a couple shots that are just gratuitous, I think. Like, not a bunch of them, but there's a few places that it's a little like, okay.
You have to tell me afterward what you're referring to.
Yeah.
He is trying to shock us for sure.
No, he absolutely
and it
is.
works.
He absolutely
and
is.
The score is chilling.
Right. But there's some places where when you realize what's going on, there's a horror to it, but then there's sometimes that it's like, okay, come on. Like, right? It's. I think sometimes he overplays his cards. But that being said, I actually think this is a stronger movie than Hereditary.
How so?
I think Hereditary, at the end, at the climax of Hereditary, it goes a little bit off the rails.
It bobbles the ending.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he kind of drops the ball on the ending a little bit in a way that he didn't have to and could have been fixed relatively easily. But this one I think is a lot tighter. And this one I actually find the ending more consistent with the rest of the film. Yeah, I really like this movie.
Me too.
And I think, again, like, this is not for the faint of heart.
Yikes.
This is, this is the rare movie. I'm glad I saw Stone Cold sober. Yeah, if you were messed up watching this movie, you're going to be even more messed up.
Yeah, there's really no need to
this
take
movie in and of itself is a bad trip
beforehand. Yeah, I dug it. I did, and I kind of want to see it again. It's long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, but I kind of want to see it again just to experience it all. And yet, like, I have dread at the prospect of that. And yet I dug it, and I couldn't stop thinking
and
about it.
good supporting
afterward.
cast. Jack Reynor is the boyfriend who's kind of a jerk. William Jackson Harper, who's in The Good Place.
Right, yes.
He's the student who's actually doing the thesis. Will Poulter shows up in this. Will Poulter is turned into somebody who plays a jerk really well.
Has a lot to do with his face.
In a lot of different flavors.
Yeah.
I am faint-hearted, but I am looking forward to seeing this.
I'll be curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. But I like this a lot.
All right. What are you saying?
What did I say?
You said 8.5.
Yeah, 8.5.
Okay, I'm saying 8.9. Our number's 8.7. It's at 91% on the tomato meter. So Midsommar opens on July 3rd. That is Wednesday. I'm guessing it is limited at first, and then we'll go elsewhere. But do see it.
But boy, you want some
screen.
counter programming. Opposite all of the like goofball action movies.
Do see it. See it on the screen. See it with the best sound you can find, because a lot of the sound effects, the way they communicate with one another non-verbally, and just the score is really intense and cool. So, Midsommar.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And while you're at it, why not go check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. That's where you get our TV recaps. Right now we're doing Big Little Lies and Handmaid's Tale, and we've got The Loudest Voice and Stranger Things around the corner, so you'll want to be there for that. And we're also starting a new Off the Menu, where every so often we're going to review a classic film that's on streaming, and some of our Patreon members get to pick what that film is. So go to the page, check it out, see if it's for you. Patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. And if you have friends who are like, hey, whatever happened to those What the Flick guys, tell them here's where you find us. So.
Like weekly, someone's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I found you," and we're really glad that you found us.
We're delighted. Or I get somebody on Twitter who's like, "Oh man, I miss you guys." I'm like, "Well, stop missing us. We're still here."
Take better aim.
Anyway, thanks for watching.